The country I had was Macedonia. I'm going to start out just going through the slides, talking about history, location, just basic information to give everybody a background on the country and let them kind of know, what all's going on within that country, and then I'll discuss how they stand democratically, whether or not they are getting closer to a democracy, or whether they're falling back. So that's just a little overview of how this is going to go, and we will continue, which shows the location of Macedonia. As you can see, it's located north of Greece, south of Serbia, with Albania and Bulgaria to the west and the east. The capital of Macedonia is Skopje. That's the only way I know how to pronounce it. Moving on into history, for much of its entirety, Macedonia has been occupied by outside forces up until 1912 and 1913. The Ottoman Empire controlled much of Macedonia and the countries around it. And then after 1912 and 1913, the Balkan Wars, it was divided between Greece, Bulgaria, and Serbia, or the Ottoman Empire was divided between Greece, Bulgaria, and Serbia. So Macedonia was left basically split between Greece to the south and Serbia to the north. After years of being controlled by other countries, it finally peacefully seceded from Yugoslavia in 1991, and between the span of 1912 and 1991, we have to think that there were many occupations between that time, with both world wars and Allied forces occupying Macedonia, and the Axis forces also occupying Macedonia for a time. While a part of the Yugoslavian Federation, its name, Macedonia, that is, was the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. After a civil war in Greece between 1946 and 1949, many refugees fled to Macedonia, which I believe brought a new influx of people and a new influx of ideas. They officially celebrate their Independence Day on September 8th, 1991, which is when they became the Republic of Macedonia, and not the Socialist Federal Republic of Macedonia, or of Yugoslavia. The Albanian minority makes up about 25% of Macedonia, if I read correctly. Following the Kosovo War in 1999, many Albanian refugees fled to Macedonia and occupied much of the north and western parts of the country. And then shortly after their arrival, they began to push for autonomy and independence within Macedonia. The Albanian populated areas of the country felt like that they were being left out, and felt like that they were being treated wrongly. So they wanted to be able to govern themselves and to be able to control themselves outside of Macedonia, which wasn't going to happen. Macedonia came in, and there was conflict between insurgents and the government, and that's when NATO stepped in to help resolve. Both sides eventually came to an agreement known as the Ohrid Agreement, which basically said that the government would give the Albanian minority more political power and recognition within the government, and then the Albanians basically said, we'll stop trying to be separate from Macedonia, we'll be a part of you, as long as we still have our rights and still can be heard as a people, which is, I believe, is a major contributing factor to the move towards democracy. Their economy is an open economy, which allows international trade, which formerly their economy was not open. This is also part of that move toward democracy, where there is economic reform. The economy is growing steadily, but it's growing slow due to corrupt officials and a bad legal system. It just keeps the economy from being able to develop as fast and as strong as it possibly could. The country's greatest economic partner is Greece, which formerly had an embargo on it, but that was lifted in previous years, and now Greece has become its greatest economic partner. Greece has invested in oil refineries, textile mills, and other factories, which has helped Macedonia out and give Macedonia economic growth. But most of Macedonia's population does live in poverty. Their GDP is not very high, and they have a hard time supporting their own families. Their government is a parliamentary democracy, which is much like the constitutional monarchy of the United Kingdom, where the president derives his legitimacy from Parliament. So basically, Macedonia has a ceremonial president, but the real power of governing the country lies within the Prime Minister. So it's not like the United States in the fact that our president is both a face for the government, but he is also the real political leader of the government. Like I said before, the Prime Minister is the most politically powerful person in the government, but there are also other Prime Ministers for different branches of the government, such as Economic Prime Minister, Financial Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of Internal Affairs, and they all report back to the main Prime Minister, and these guys are elected every 4 years. And then you have Parliament, which is very similar to the United States Congress in the fact that it proposes, adopts, or denies laws. There's 120 members. They are elected to 4-year terms by a general election. Democracy. There have been economic reforms within this country, which is one of the steps needed in order to acquire democracy. Internal forces have brought about change. Although the Albanians were from the outside, they moved into Macedonia and became a minority, and they demanded that they be treated either separately or that they be treated as a part of Macedonia and be given as much political recognition as a regular Macedonian would. External forces, I suppose, would be NATO coming in to help settle the conflict between the Albanians and the Macedonian government and helping them come to an agreement. And the people do support the government, but there is still some split on who needs to control it and how the country needs to be run. And another thing I think that the country is lacking is the simple fact that the subclasses have not been strengthened. The interrelation there between classes hasn't increased. The poor are still poor, and the wealthy are still remaining wealthy. There's not been a development there. Education has not increased, and urbanization, as far as that goes, hasn't been there either. And basically, that's all I have to say about Macedonia, because they're getting there. They just haven't seen the movement as far as their class structure and economic growth that would allow them to become more democratic. According to Moore and Scotch Paul, the middle and upper class combine according to them in order to make a democracy, and I don't believe that the middle class is there yet for Macedonia, and I believe that's why that they are failing to fulfill their democratic intentions as of right now. That is all.